Slaves were meant to walk with this around their neck for 18 hours every day. Here are the real chain shackles used on our forefathers during the period of slave trade. Why slaves from the Oyo Empire were brought down to Badagry. We have slaves working in the house and we have slaves working in the farm. From the chain being heavy, did you feel any pain in any part of your body?
Yeah, I can feel pain here,
your chest,
at the back of my neck.
Now imagine somebody working with this inside the farm for 18 hours every day.
In the 1400s, when the European first arrived, slavery was part of African culture. So most of the African part of the slave trade was actually carried out by Africans, not Europeans. And today, we are still facing this slavery in a modern way from our leaders. Slavery was started by the Yoruba elite, such as warriors, powerful kings, chiefs, and wealthy merchants. They began to participate in slave trading because it was a profitable source of income. Foreign merchants supplied Yoruba business partners with powerful weapons, such as rifles, in exchange for slaves. This history has made me travel down to Badagry Slave Trade Center, the site where slave trade started in Nigeria, to know more and let you know more how slave trade started and how it was abolished in Nigeria. Badagry is a town on the east side of Lagos, which was a point of no return in the Nigerian slave trade for 400 years. If you are new to my channel, my name is Zoffer Whitney. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. Like this video by giving it a thumbs up. Feel free to drop a comment below if you have any question, and please share this video.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, boss.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You're welcome to Badagry.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
My name is Temitope Mobi,
Yeah.
and this is a Mobi Family Slave Relics Museum.
Okay.
This is not the only museum we have in Badagry. We have about 5 sites on land. We have one across the water.
Okay.
And in here is where we have the real chain shackles used on our forefathers during the period of slave trade. The chain inside are about 500 years old. So inside you feel the weight of the chain and carry it. What our forefather walked with around their neck for 18 hours every day. Badagry then was known to be a slave corridor, slave coast. And any slaves captured from the Oyo Empire were brought down to Badagry. So we have a market in Badagry, established in the year 1502, called Vlekete Slave Market. Over 300 slaves are sold inside the market every market days.
Wow.
Over 17,000 slaves have been led out of Badagry every year. So we have the Brazilian Barracoon, which used to be the cell slaves are kept. About 1,600 slaves were kept inside the Barracoon at a time. 40 slaves were kept in the room for 3 to 4 months. They eat, urinate, defecate on each other inside the compound for 3 to 4 months. Even while the women are observing their menstrual cycle, they do it on each other. Before they cross them to the other side of this water. And that place is called the point of no return. Journey to unknown destination. Now there is a well on the highland that is called the Spirit Attenuation Well. Slaves were forced to drink from the water, and they forced them to make some recitation, after which they become less aggressive to lose their memory. And that was actually the reason why Nigeria was the largest supplier of slaves during the period of slave trade, because Nigeria contributed about 24% of slaves taken out of Africa. And Nigeria and Angola were the largest supplier of slaves then, with 24% each, followed by Ghana, 16%. Majority of these people were taken down to Brazil. And that's why when you get to Brazil now, you decide that the Yoruba we speak in Nigeria is their second official language in Brazil today. Why? About 38.5% of slaves were taken to Brazil. Taken from Africa were taken to Brazil. And that's why all of our culture in Yoruba land are practiced in Brazil today. While this business was going on, Christianity came in. And so we have the first story building in Nigeria, here in Badagry. The foundation was laid in the year 1842, completed 1845. Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther, who did the translation of the English Bible to Yoruba version, did it in that building. The first primary school in Nigeria started from the compound, the first church in Nigeria, the first agricultural center. There's also a well in the compound they call the Miracle Well. It's the only well around this area that is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. When you get there, you can drink out of the water. Really? And you compare with the ever water you are drinking. They are the same. Lastly, we have the Heritage Museum. The Heritage Museum used to be the office of the Governor General, Safari Lugard, who did the amalgamation of Nigeria. And so the place was converted to a museum in the year 2002. So you are seeing Badagry in the olden days and Badagry in the present day inside the Heritage Museum. So join me in the museum as I show you the real chain used on our forefathers during the period of slave trade.
Yeah, let's go, guys.
Yeah. So you're welcome once again.
Okay.
Here are the real chain shackles used on our forefathers during the period of slave trade. Like I said outside, Badagry was known to be a slave corridor. And there are two major slave coasts in Nigeria then, Badagry and Calabar. Any slaves captured from the eastern Nigeria were usually taken down to Calabar, while slaves from the Oyo Empire were brought down to Badagry.
Okay.
Slaves were not being captured from Badagry. They were brought from the hinterland. So our forefathers in Badagry were middlemen between the white and the black. They buy slaves from their fellow black. They resell to the white men. This business lasted for about 350 to 400 years here in Badagry. It was abolished by the help of the man buried here, Chief Sumbu Mobi. The father of the man buried here was also into the trade. Badagry then has headquarters. 6 out of the 8 quarters were dealing with one country or the other. We have the British, the Dutch, the French, the Portuguese coming to buy slaves here in Badagry. So the father of the man buried here was dealing with the British government, slave merchants. And so in the year 1852, the British government and the people of Badagry signed the treaty of the abolition of slave trade, putting an end to the trade. It was abolished in Europe. The judgment was made in Europe in the year 1772.
Okay.
But they came to Badagry in the year 1852. So the father signed that document with 7 other ships in Badagry. And so the British slave merchants stopped coming from that year. The Portuguese were still coming. And so the man buried here waged war against the Portuguese slave merchants in the year 1888. So officially, slave trade was abolished in Badagry in the year 1852.
Okay.
Physically, it was abolished in the year 1888 by the help of the man buried here.
Hmm.
The father was nicknamed Chief Mobi
Mobi.
by the white men because whenever they come around, he usually offer them kola nut.
Okay.
It tells them in Yoruba language, Oyibo Remi, Emobije.
Oh, Emobije. So
Emobije means speak kola nut eat.
Yeah,
and so they gave him a nickname from there,
Yeah,
Chief Mobi.
Mobi.
The family now adopts Mobi as a family name.
That's
Mobi is now a chieftaincy title in Badagry of today.
Now it's
Also a
chieftain-
surname.
Wow.
It's my surname, also a chieftaincy title.
Wow.
So, this is the grave of Chief Sumbu Mobi, who stopped the trade in Badagry in the year 1888, and he died on the 16th October 1893. He was buried closer to the chain he brought to his compound, and that's why we have the grave inside this museum. So this is called the neck lock, and this is for the neck of the slaves. Slaves were meant to walk with this around their neck for 18 hours every day. While traveling, this will be on them for 3 to 4 months before they get to their final destination. And you can imagine the weight of the chain on the neck of human being walking inside the farm.
This
for
is going to
18
be
hours.
up to like, let's say maybe 15 kg.
Now, can I ask this question? How do you feel with the chain around your neck?
And I feel uncomfortable. Like, this chain is very heavy.
Then, apart from the chain being heavy, did you feel any pain?
And aside that, you know, this is being hung on the wall, right? On this iron now. It's not even all over my body.
Yes.
Oh my God. Hey.
So, apart from the chain being heavy, did you feel any pain in any part of your body?
Yeah, I can feel pain here.
Your chest.
At the back of my neck.
Now, imagine somebody walking with this inside the farm for 18 hours every day.
Still walking.
3 to 4 months while traveling on the Atlantic Ocean before they get to their final destination.
So the slaves work on the farm, and you know while they are working, this is usually
you have to be around
used
your neck.
Oh my God, this used to be on them. Ha.
So this is called the neck lock, and this is called the light chain. The light chain for the babies.
For the babies.
Any child given birth by a slave is a slave. The Yorubas will always say "Ntoba Nieru, no Nieru." And for children of the slave not to be moving about the farm, they usually gather them together and chain their wrists with this size of the chain. Make them sit down under a tree, far away from where their parents are working. Now let me say this. There are 2 categories of slaves. We have slaves working in the house, and we have slaves working in the farm. Those working in the house are called domestic slaves.
Domestic.
The male domestic slaves usually are castrated. Why? The white man doesn't want them to impregnate the wife or children of the white man.
Because they believe Africans has big bola.
So they castrate them. After castration, I don't know if you have animals at home and you've come across castrated animals before.
They usually castrate
dog, goat.
Yeah.
They become big,
They become
huge
big,
and tall.
Exactly.
The same thing happens to human being after castration.
Really?
So they become very big, like a giant.
They have muscles.
So they use them to carry heavy objects.
Wow.
Whenever they are going for war, they are always at the war front.
This is so serious.
The female domestic slaves are used as wet nurse. These people, they are so selfish. They don't want the breast of their wife to lose shape. They don't allow their wife to breastfeed. Whenever they discover that their wife is pregnant, they impregnate the female slaves. The black woman will now be the one to breastfeed the child of the white. Most time they kill the baby of the black woman or collect that baby and give it to another woman breastfeeding inside the farm. And that is for the domestic slaves. Now for the children not to be playing about the farm, so as not to step on what their parent has planted, they chain their hands with this size of the chain, make them sit under a tree, far away from where their parents are working. And this is called the mouth clip for the mouth of the slaves. Because the white men are afraid, they don't want slaves to communicate to one another. Because they believe that if they communicate in their local language, they can plan on how to attack the white men. They pierce the lips of the slaves with hot iron, the lower and the upper lips. In the morning, while going to the farm, they put this on their mouth and they padlock their mouth like this. For them not to be able to talk or eat while working on the plantation.
This is serious.
And this is a torture weapon for stubborn slave who refuse to work inside the farm. Slave who disobeys his master, they force this into their hand down to the wrist.
They force it
into their hand down to the wrist. Most times this doesn't go into the wrist easily. You have to break the bone for this to get to the rest of the slaves. After forcing this to their wrist, they now make them climb the platform. Now you are my master. We both climb this list and you screw this up to the roof of this building. You come down from the platform and remove this from my leg. I will be suspended on the tree, dingling for money tonight. Now this is what they do to stubborn slaves who refuse to work inside the farm. Most times they died in the course of this. The white man doesn't care because our forefathers were used in exchange of items. And this is called the branding iron. During the period of slave trade, slaves don't bear name. They bear the name of their master or any name given to them by the white men. For the white men to be able to identify their slaves, they usually write their name on the body of their slaves. So they have to put this in fire. When this is red hot, they now use this to write the name of the owner of the slaves on the body of the slaves. This we now adopt as fashion. Tattoo is what we call it. And that was the reason why today in Lagos, in Abeokuta, we have some Yorubas with English surname. You can imagine a Yoruba man bearing surname like Stone, Brown, Da Costa, and so on and so forth. For these people to be able to differentiate their slaves from one another, why taking them out of Africa? So that when slaves try to run away, for them to be able to trace the owner of the slaves, they will have to write their name on their body. They put this in fire, of the master. They put this in fire. When this is red hot, they now use this to write the name of the owner of the slaves on the body. And that's what we turn to fashion today. The second function of this is to pierce the lips of the slaves. So as to be able to padlock their mouths. But the last function is to pierce the foot of stubborn slave who try to run away being captured. When this is red hot, it hits this into the foot to pierce the leg or break the bone inside the leg. And this is called the ankle lock for the leg of two slaves. Two slaves are meant to walk with this around their ankle at the same time. And you can imagine this on the leg of two human beings walking at the same time. And this was the money we spent in Africa in process cowries. But cowries was only recognized as means of exchange in Africa. The white man doesn't recognize this as money. And that led to the introduction of trade by barter. Items were brought into Africa in exchange of human beings. Items like gunpowder, trigine, cotton, iron, mirror, tobacco, and so on and so forth. Back then, a bottle of dry gin was in exchange of 10 human beings.
Bottle of dry gin in exchange of 10 human beings.
So you can imagine the worth of human being during the period of slave trade.
Human being was worthless.
Mirror was in exchange of 10 human beings, and umbrella for 40 human beings.
Wow.
This is a cannon gun. Why do we need this? They brought this to us so that we can fight ourselves, capture slaves, and sell back to the white men. This was in exchange of 40, the big size of this for 100 human beings. And when you have this, you will need gunpowder to use this. The gunpowder will also be in exchange of human being. Over there is slave drinking water bowl. And 40 to 50 slaves drink water from this bowl at a time. They drink water from the bowl with their hand being tied to the back. They will need to bend down to lip water like animals. Most time, while struggling to drink water from this bowl, they push one another. They get caught by the edge of the pot. And the blood drips into the water. They drink like that because they have access to food and water once in a day. And finally, for this museum, here's a picture of the spirit at a nation where you'll be seeing at the point of no return. You may not be able to see this right up at the point of no return. So let me quickly run through this. This well was dug by the Badagry chief in those days.
Those days.
Why? Because slaves were not being captured from here. Slaves were brought from the hinterland. So they dug the well, they had there something to eat. As soon as slaves drink from it, they force them to make this recitation. And after making this recitation, they become less aggressive. They lose their memory. That was the reason why Nigeria was the largest supplier of slaves during the period of slave trade. Nigeria accounted for about 24% of slaves taken out of Africa. Angola 24%. Ghana 16%. About 38.5% of slaves taken out of Africa were taken to Brazil. And that's why you see them worshipping Shango, Eshu, Ifa, Obatala, and so on and so forth. Let me quickly run through the recitation. It goes thus. I am leaving this land. My spirit lives with me. I shall not come back now. My shackles do not break. It is the shackles that hold the ship down. My ancestors bear me witness. I shall not return. This land shall depart. My soul do not revolt. My spirit goes along with me. I depart to the land unknown. I shall not return. This was the reason why Nigeria was the largest supplier of slaves. Those that returned after the abolition of slave trade were the ones we have in Lagos, bearing foreign name, or Abeokuta. We also have them in Badagry. Exactly. We have more of them also in Ilaro. So this was the reason why we have the blacks in diaspora. But thank God for civilization. Exactly. Today they run DNA tests, and the DNA result will show them the country they came from. They usually come with their results to show that they are from Nigeria. But they don't know where they captured their forefather from Nigeria. You are welcome. I don't know if you have one or two questions.
Thank you so much. My question is, these chains we have here, are these the real chains?
The real chain. The real chain.
These are the chains they use?
The real chain.
Oh my God. Yeah. So these chains have been like, how many years?
They are over 500 years.
500 years?
Because slave trade lasted for about 350 to 400 years. The trade was abolished in Badagry the year 1888. And that's over 100 years.
Wow.
So they're over 500 years old.
So what's this?
That's just an artwork.
Just an artwork. Okay.
To show the beauty of... Oh, these are royal musical instruments. They call this a jogon.
Okay,
the Mobi family is a royal family. I'm from the family. Okay. Just I don't like calling myself prince. I'm from the family. So whenever we have special program, women married to the royal family play this instrument for the royal family alone. So probably you come across women holding this in Badagry. It means the family celebrating program is from a royal family, and we use this to differentiate royal family from other families here in Badagry. It's only women that play this instrument. Men doesn't play this.
Oh, men doesn't play it. Wow.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. So guys, this is just the beginning of the adventure. Let's go, guys. Don't forget, if you are coming for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you are a returning subscriber, thanks for always coming. Thank you, guys.
This is the umbrella for 40 enslaved Africans. The cloth on this local mannequin is over 200 years of age, which was given to Seriki by Brazilian friends. But one day, they rose up, they killed their masters, and 75 of them, they walked into the ocean, they drowned themselves.
After the Mobi family shared the horrific reality of slave trade experienced by their forefathers with me,
it was abolished by the help of the man buried here, Chief Sumbu Mobi,
and what slaves passed through during the years of slavery.
And this is for the neck of the slaves.
We proceeded to the next site, which is the Brazilian Barracoon, the cells where slaves were kept.
All these rooms that the family live today, they're all cells.
We met the curator of the compound.
My name is Honesto. Though you cannot trace my room that name, because as an African, we have a name that tells story, historic or directory. Somebody can just locate you through your name. But why we keep on giving our children English, Christian, Islamic name? I'm not saying anything wrong with those names, but we have a name that tells story. If I tell you that my name is Kofi, can you tell me where I come from?
Yeah, you're from Ghana.
You see, you can see how powerful our name is. So please, give our children our name. Yeah. You are welcome to Brazilian Barracoon.
Cornerstone furthered the history of the slave trade in Badagry in another dimension different from the Mobi's family's experience, as each family had different experiences during those periods.
You are a Yoruba man.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yes,
my name is Cornerstone, though Cornerstone is my stage and my company name.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're welcome. The slavery began in the 7th century by the Arabs. Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, that you see today, were owned by the blacks. We call them the Kush, the Nubian, the Kamites. But today, if you get to Egypt, what you'll be seeing a white Arabs rolling. What happened to those aborigines, those that live along that axis, the Menes, the first pharaoh of Egypt, who happened to be a black man, the Nefertiti? The jihadists killed majority of the blacks along the axis with the head of their sword, and they planted Islam. And it lasted for 17th century. But in the 15th century, the Portuguese came up with transatlantic slave trade by a man called Prince Henry Navigator. And later, the English joined the trade, and the name of the first slave ship being a Jesus of Lubeck, or Good Ship Jesus, owned by King Henry VIII of England. Okay. But later, Queen Elizabeth I rented it out to Johns Hopkins, and they said taking African away as a slave. And that's why it lasted for 400 years. You can see the difference between 17th century and 4th century. You can see it's so different. So different. Now, this is the cenotaph of the man that owns this compound. He was captured at the age of 6.
6 years.
Yeah, when was that? During the Egbas and Dahomey War. And he has a name. Ifare Melekun was the name given to him by his parents. But today, how come his name changed to Seriki Williams Abbas? And that era, we have 2 categories of slaves. Yeah. We have a domestic slave that work in their master's house, while the field work on the farm or on the plantation. Abbas was the first master that owns him as a slave. Okay. Abbas made him a domestic slave, and Abbas in question was a black man like I and I. I just use the word I and I. Me and you understand? Yeah. Now Abbas resided in the Republic of Dahomey. The Republic of Dahomey was changed to the Republic in 1975. Maybe you'll be hearing Cotonou, Ajashe. But Abbas later resold him to a white man called Williams. William took him down to Brazil. He taught him how to read and write, which was illegal. Slaves were not meant to go to school. And the main reason why they don't want to educate them, they believe if slaves will be given education, one day he or she will rise and fight for their rights. So through Mr. William, the young man speaks English, Dutch, Spanish, and Portuguese. I'm still going to show you some writing when we enter the cell. But one day, William called him, young man, come, let me set you free. But with condition, you're going to work for me. And he grabbed the offer. William set him free. When he left Brazil, he first settled down in Lagos Island. From Lagos colony, he came down to research. When he came here, it was the Williams, the second master that built this compound for in 1814. In 1895, he became the Seriki Musulumi of Badagry. Seriki is a title among the Muslims. Because they used to bear their masters, that's why he chose to bear the first master, the second, and the title that he had. Now, but the war, what's their name again? Sorry?
Ayodele.
Ayodele, good. Now, Ayodele, the world know this company as Brazilian Barracoon. And the main reason why they call this company Brazilian Barracoon, majority of the slave taking for this compound we have been led through this entrance to that island called Point of No Return to Europe or America. Now, Barracoon is a Portuguese word. It was coins from the word barrack, meaning cell, dungeon where they are being kept. The compound that we have today, we have total number of 40 rooms in the compound. 40 slaves must be in each of the rooms. But out of the 40 rooms, the federal government of Nigeria met with his family that were still living in the compound that they should retain 2 cells. They now kept most of the relics that people all over the world comes around here to view. Now, before we go in, let's turn around. Okay. Now, when the Europeans came to Africa, we Africans, we have our own currency. Let's say we have the money that we use for transaction, buying and selling them. Now, let me mention 4 types of money we use, our forefathers use them. Tobacco were used as money in those days.
Tobacco.
There's what we call yalla salt. There's a stay in Cross River called yalla. They use salt in the olden days as a form of money. Okay. There's what we call cowrie shell. Yorubas call it
I only know about the cowrie.
Cowrie, okay. Then there's what they also call Manila. Manila is a curved ring. Now, let me bust your brain. Okay. You know, if you see our 100 note, the one that carries Awolowo logo.
Yeah.
You notice there used to be a green star.
Yeah.
Do you have one there?
I don't have one.
You don't have one? I don't think I have. Let me check my purse as well. I know I didn't have. Okay, well.
Yeah, no worries.
So that 100 naira,
Yeah.
you will notice there used to be a green star.
Yeah.
In the middle of the side, there's a curved ring. If you turn the back, you see 2 here, then 1 here. We call it Manila. Portuguese use Manila. Our forefathers to use Manila then.
Manila.
But when they arrive, them say they don't want to do business with our forefather with those kind of money that they will have prepared doing trade by barter. And right on the wall, some, not all, some of the European products that were used in exchange for the slave when they arrived Africa. Like now, European will give our father a mirror and beads. That's what we call bargain power. You can say 3 slaves, I can say 5, you can say 7. We call it the way you can
Just
bargain.
like bidding.
Bidding, yes, you bargain with European. European will give our forefather then a ceramic bowl in exchange for 10 human beings. You know, the problem I've been having is this. You guys believe that all the product that they use, all the resources that were used to build this, we have been taken from Africa. That's why we call it triangular slave trade.
Triangular.
Yeah, they take our resources, then they refine it, they bring it back here
I
to
see.
collect our people as a slave.
Oh my
You
God.
can see that's why we call it
Yes.
triangular slave trade. Now, one umbrella go for 40 human beings as a slave. European will give our father one umbrella to collect 40 human beings as a slave. Even though 4 years ago, the vice president, the former vice president, Yemi Oshibajo,
Yeah.
came here to see the. I will show you the picture
Wow.
when the
He
vice
came here
president
to see the
umbrella for
umbrella.
40 human beings.
Wow.
Now, European will give our father a bottle of whiskey in exchange for 10 human beings as a slave. We still have a bottle of 1873 from Vienna, Austria, inside the museum that I'm going to show you. The man that owned the compound, when he became the Seriki Musulumi of Badagry, when they want to turban means when they want to crown him as Seriki, European that were doing the trade with it gave me the kettle as a gift. The Bradis will also give it to him, and the Brazilian, they are doing the trade. Now, this one are called cannon gun. The long cannon gun go for 100, the shorter are 40 slaves. European will give you a ding gun, you give them 40 human beings as a slave. Now the question is this: we Africans or black man, what do we do with the guns and the cannon? We use it to fight each other,
ourselves.
so to get more slaves to settle. We sold ourselves into slavery, and it's still happening up till it's still the same system still going on in Africa up till
because they are still practicing modern slavery.
yeah, you understand. Now look at these 2 doors. I've been here since 1840s.
This door.
Yeah, when the compound was being established. Now, if you check the back of the door, you see some ancient inches that they used to mount the door. Can you come and have it? Look. Okay, you can see all these things. Look at this iron. Feel the weight of this iron.
Wow.
See how heavy it is.
Yeah, it's so heavy. Yeah.
Then you can see the inches. They use longer inches to mount the door that time. Now, what we are going to do now, we are moving. You know, I told you that we have 40 rooms in the
40
compound. But out of the 40 rooms, the government said the family of the father Mlekos will retain 2 cells that will be seen. Now, but before we go in, look at this well.
1847.
This well was dug in the 1847 by the slaves. This is where the slaves drink water from.
Yeah.
Now, this time, I used to talk about 3 wells when visitors comes around. This is the first well, dug in the 1847 by the slaves. And this is where they drink water from then. But today, the family that lives here today, they don't drink the water because the water have a connection with the lagoon there. Anytime lagoon change, the water also change color. So it's not drinkable then. But because they were slaves, this is where they used to drink water from. And the well was
because
dug.
they do, their master won't even care.
Yes,
they don't
because
care.
slaves were being referred to property. They are nobody. You understand? Now, the second well, when you get to the first story building, they'll be telling you more about the second well. Then the third one is across the point of no return that they should give them for them to lose their memory. Now,
guys, this is so sad. Like,
what's up? Or they use a machete,
oh my God.
they chop up one of the toes of a runaway slave.
Umbrella for
Now,
40 slaves.
European will give our father this, they collect 40 human beings as a slave then. They will not drill it down. When it's down, they'll force the leg open.
Okay.
So, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Ayodele. Right, this is the first cell out of the 40 rooms. 2 have been set aside.
Yeah.
Now, all the rooms used to be like this. The smaller room.
Okay.
In there is called dark room. We are still going there.
Okay.
Now, we call this thing covering yoke. They use this to yoke 2 slaves together so that they will not be able to escape. I think we should experiment with this.
Okay, no worries, sir.
Now, come this way.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they'll pull this at the ankle of the first slave, then the ankle of the second slave.
Yeah.
Now, look at this straight rod.
Yeah.
You can see this pin hole here.
Yeah.
That's where they're going to put their padlock. So they'll pass it from my hand here to your end there. Then they'll now use this hold.
Yeah.
They'll put their padlock there. So it's not easy for I and I to run or to escape. Okay? Yeah. And while working on the plantation, we just have to work in one accord so that there will not be more injury on our ankle. Yeah. And know how they are going to do the perfection. They will still have injury on their legs. So who care? Because they were slaves, the next day they still be wearing this while working on them.
So these are they used to wear it every day.
Yeah, so that they will not be able to escape. They don't want them to escape because they are wounded lion.
Oh my God.
So they use it to yoke 2 slaves together. We call it covering yoke, or you call it ankle shackle. Now look at this chain here. If you look this chain, I want to show you something. You can see that it's wearing out.
Yeah, it's wearing out.
It's going gradually, but it's heavier than this, and it used to be one chain together like this. But because of the weight, it has divided, and it's heavier than this. Feel the weight and see. Can you see how heavy it is? Now we call this waist chain. What do I say? Waist chain. Now, any slave that is stubborn, they will tie it around the waist, as you can see in the pictures here. You see this guy in the picture?
Oh my God.
So they will tie it around the waist of a stubborn slave. So after some time, it will calm the slave down, so that he'll be less aggressive fighting other slaves or those who want to purchase him. Now, this is the umbrella for 40 enslaved Africans.
This umbrella for 40 slaves.
European will give our forefather this, they collect 40 human beings as a slave then. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think this is worth 40 human beings?
It doesn't, honestly.
Now, that to tell you the kind of leaders Africa have been bringing right from the cradle of Africa. How could they exchange 40 slaves, human beings with this ordinary umbrella that was made of wood, bronze, silk, and cane? Let me show you the cane. You might call it ikon. Can you see the cane?
Yeah, I see.
So, and the umbrella is heavy. Try the weight and see the heaviness. And as heavy as it is, just a guy, because he have to carry it on the head.
Just one person.
As you can see in the picture there, it must not drop from the hand of that slave. If that umbrella drop, the penalty could be dead. They'll be headed in immediately. Now, this one is called iron muzzle. They use that to cover, to guard the mouth of the slave, preventing them from communicating, because they don't want a means of communicating, or they don't want it to be overfed, so they don't have power to fight their masters. But the worst one is the one whereby they will perforate, they will pierce the upper lip with red hot iron. Then the lower one, they will not apply padlock. Now, let me show you this picture. This picture to tell a lot of stories. This is Seriki Abbas here, and these are the Brazilians that we are doing the trade with, because I told that majority of the slave taken to this compound were taken to Brazil, and they were Yoruba origin. And if you get to Brazil today, you still see their traces. Like there's a gods among the Yoruba here called Yemeja. They call it Lemeja over there. Eshu, Ezu, Yalakara, Akaraje, Oshu, Ozu. That will tell that they are Yorubas that have been moved from this compound to Brazil. Those are the Brazilians negotiating with the Seriki Williams. Now, before we go in, look at this item number 7 here. We call this iron drilling bit. This iron have 2 functions. The first one, they put inside the fire. If I'm Ayodele slave, my name should be Ayodele. They use it to write Ayodele on my checks or at my back. They call it branding. because slave kept here were owned by different owners. For identification, you just have to brand yourself with red hot iron. They also use it to break the toes. We call them fugitives. Any slaves that run away, they are called fugitive slaves. So any slave that today you run, tomorrow run, the master will say that you bring the slave. Now, if you look at the tip of this, you can see it has something round,
just like screw.
Yeah, screw. You can see. So they'll put this in between. Our leg has it on. They'll put that thing in here.
Okay.
They will not drill it down. When it's down, they'll force the leg open, or they use a machete.
Oh my God.
They chop off one of the toes of a runaway slave. If there was a movie called The Root by Ali Saleh, Kunta Kinte. Okay, similar thing happened to the guy in the movie. Now, look at this chain here. This very chain here, and the one over there on the wall, were used to kill the slave. Later, when we enter the second cell, I'll be telling you how they do the lynching of the slave with these two chains. Now, this one standing here, they're sort of called chariot. That thing that horse normally pull. Owned by this man called Seriki Williams. This is the man called Seriki Williams. I told that he had education, and we made a photocopy of his handwriting here. Now, before we go in, now here is called inspection room. We are going to see the dark room. We call it dark room. What I say? Dark room, where 40 enslaved Africans were being cared for 3 to 4 months. So please, because you are tall, the frame is so low, you have to bend your head while coming in.
My God, no ventilation. Just a little, tiny ventilation.
Wash your hands. Now, look at that small window up there. Can you see that window? And that's what will give them ventilation. And 40 enslaved Africans will be kept here for 3 to 4 months. Inside this room, this is where the DFK do a lot of things. Imagine the odor, the heat. Imagine how many human beings they will have died inside this compound. That's the main reason why when people comes around, I tell them, you guys are not here to catch fun, but just to feel the pain the people of the past have felt. Now, each of these ceramic bowl go for 10 human beings. This is 50 enslaved Africans you're seeing there. Now, right at your back here, if you look at the body of this bottle, you will see 1873 being customized on the body of the bottle.
1873.
Yeah, the bottle is from Ghana, Austria. That's the 10 human being you are seeing. Now, this round thing, we call it record. They're called aging.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah, today we use DVD and CD.
Yeah, exactly.
And they give it to my the Brazilian and the European friend. They are doing the trade. And these are cowrie shell that be the money that we spend in Africa. If you look at the body of this, you see the jug. You see, it's a German. They say, do you know that a lot of people don't even know that German too enslaved Africans? They did.
They too.
Yeah, they did. So, on top of this, they write, let me see, in-law what? In-law distinct meat or surgeon quick. No, some Germans came there. I'm so curious, and I asked them, please, they should translate it, the meaning. And it meant that they say in a circle where people drink, there also be happiness around that circle. There to be merriment. That's the meaning.
That's the meaning.
Yeah, that where people drink, there always be merriment there. Now, over here, Muslim washes their face, legs, and co. We call it ablution. Okay. The man that owns the compound, if you want to do his prayer, this way they keep his water for ablution as a Muslim, or if you want to take his bed, soap, and he's drinking. But now, we are going now to see the second cell and see what we have here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Wash your head, sir. There's a picture of Olu of Iwo, the king of Iwo, and he paid a visit to the museum with one of the grandson of Seriki Williams Abbas, Bali of Yoyowe, and this is the decision of Oni of Ife when he came to the Barracoon. Then, of course, I've showed the vice president.
Yeah, Oshibaji.
Now, we are now moving to see the second room. They'll be hung on gallows, and the women two hands up, and they'll be here dying in silence gradually. The question: why are we still suffering?
Exactly.
In the midst of prayer, there's something wrong somewhere. We call them killer's dog. The dog will eat slave to the bone. No, I'm not Toby. My name is Kunta Kinte. I am from Africa. He started describing where he come from. Now, what we are doing here, a lot of people, when we open the door sometimes, they thought this is a mummy. No, it's not a mummy. It's just a local artwork What we are just trying to do here, we are trying to showcase this cloth on this local mannequin or a dummy. The cloth on this local mannequin is over 200 years of age, which was given to Seriki by Brazilian friends. And that's the movement to the point of no return. We call that movement single file. Now, let's turn around. Look at this picture. This picture tells a lot of story. Look at this man here. These two guys, they are raiders. They want to capture him as a slave. And I used to ask people, why must this man kill himself? Why must he stab himself to death? Because they want to capture him as a slave. That to tell you that slavery is bad. This man, he knows the implication to be a slave. He said, instead of him to be a slave, he would have preferred to die. He stabbed himself. Now, let me bust your brain. There's an island in Georgia named St. Simon in Badagry.
Is it Georgia?
In America, yeah. Where over 75 of the Igbo slaves taken along Calabar, Bonny, through Orun, they took them to Georgia. But one day, they rose up, they killed their masters, and 75 of them, they walked into the ocean, they drowned themselves. They call the place Igbo land in up to date.
Igbo
Now,
land.
and before they drowned themselves, they were when I go through their story, they say they were singing in Igbo language that the Golden River should take them back to their root.
Yeah.
But they later end up in Georgia water. If you're a wise man, that will tell you their spirit is here in Africa. Those are our brothers and sisters that we sold away or they forced away as a slave, that died mysteriously dead. Their spirit is still here, crying for vengeance. That's the main reason why we are not getting it in Africa. Okay, tell me something. Look at our back here. Dubai is a desert.
Yeah, exactly.
They turn it to paradise. They channel water into into the desert. Now, but we have it naturally here. We have water. We have everything. The question: why are we still suffering?
Exactly.
In the midst of pain? There's something wrong. So until we Africans will come together and say sorry to some certain set of people, Africa will be back from where she veered off tracks.
Exactly.
Now, the man killed himself. Even on the slave voyage, some slave will jump into the water. They'll hand it up. Even though sometimes some slaves were being set ablaze, they'll put their petrol, they'll set it on fire. Some of the men were being raped. We call it book breaking. They'll slave with the men. You know, that's how we call it book breaking. They rape the women. A lot of things happen down to the Rivera. So we just have to say sorry to some certain set of people to make the world a better place to live. Now, I don't know if you have watched the film called Django Unchained. If you have watched
the film,
try and watch those films, my brother. Django Unchained, we call them fugitive slaves that run away.
Django Unchained.
They will release like 20 dogs after runaway slave, and we call them killer's dog. The dog will eat slave to the bone. Now, slaves bear their master's name. Any slave that refuse accepting his master's name or refuse to be a Christian, they have to tie him and flog him. You must be what they want you to be. You understand? Along the line, some slaves that were so stubborn were beaten to death. And if a slave died, no case, because they are someone's property. Now, there's a film called The Root by Haile Saleh. The guy African name was Kunta Kinte. The master that owns him named Toby. They will not give him Toby. The guy refused. Said, no, I'm not Toby. My name is Kunta Kinte. I am from Africa. He started describing where he come from. It was the 7th generation of Haile Ali, traced their route for United States of America to Senegambia. Then we call it Senegambia, but today they call it Gambia in Africa. And they met with the family and they made that beautiful movie titled The Road. That's the main reason why when people come here, I used to tell them, please, let's give our children our name. There's nothing ever wrong with our African name. Now, you can see any slave that refuses will be struck to death. Now, Yorubas call this cloth Asho Etu. This Asho Etu belongs to Seriki Williams Abbas, and it's over 200 years.
Over 200 years.
Now, this box is called Akutish. I know that's what Yorubas call it. That's a March box. We didn't know how many slaves that were used to call it this now. Originally, this compound is not being plastered this way. Later, when you get outside, I'll be showing you how the compound used to be. Look at this brick. You will see these bricks outside. We call it burnt bricks that they use. for the building there. And this is the building Seriki Abad resided. The building collapsed in this one 1995, it's 1847, and this is one of the door of the building. Now, right from the inspection room now, let's see another dark room.
Okay.
You're welcome. These are some of the picture of children of Seriki Williams Abbas, and this chair used to be his realization chair. Now, do you come and look at this picture? Do you know this man here?
The name is the Chief Darucha.
Can do Darosha. Have you ever heard story about it?
I've heard about the name.
What do you hear about it?
I just see Darucha.
Darosha. Okay. Now, Darosha is popular among the Yorubas. You know, when the slavery was being abolished, some of our brothers and sisters traced back their route to Africa. Though Darosha forefather were the one being captured as a slave, but he was born into the plantation, a child of a slave. He also a slave. You understand? So when they now put stop to the trade, he traced his route back to Lagos Island. You see a house and family down there. It was tinkling rich that he used to help people with money. Like if I should buy a bottle of Coke, and you see a something to get you a gala, I mean, I say, I'll buy a come. So when somebody Darusha, they want to tell me Darusha that you use money, you know. So that's Darusha for you. Yes. Then we call them returning. We still have those returning in Lagos Island. You can see them in Benin, in Abeokuta. We call them returning that came back. And some of them in Syria alone. They are also in Syria alone. Now, look at this iron corrugated sheet. You can hear the sound. Just feel the weight. You can see how heavy. Now, look at this is what we use now. You can see, you can see, this one is very easy.
The one we use.
Look at it, you can see. And you get 20 of this from this edible, everything here. Now, this is another sad event. We call this thing Gallo. Gallow. Now, while we're in the first cell, I introduced a chain in the show glass and the wall over to you. Now, if they want to kill the slave, why don't say lynching? If they want to lynch the slave, then gallows, they always mount the gallows in the plantation where the slave used to work. Or if there's any tree, long tree, they can use it as a gallows. So, any slave that trying to conscientize, or you are too smart, you want to cause confusion in the plantation, on the plantation. Now, they will tie the chain around the ribs of the men, the hand at the back, they will be hung on gallows. And the women turn up, and they will be here dying in silence, gradually. They are trying to instill in fear into other slaves. And as you see them, they won't last for a day before they will die on these gallows. Now, especially the men die quickly because they will tie the chain around their ribs, and blood will be dropping, and she'll be crying in agony, just to create fear into other slaves. So now, the women now, you know, she be hung, be suspended on the air. Now, all the blood along here will come down to the two tie, and the tie will be so heavy, and she'll be crying just to put fear into other slaves. And as you see them, they will never last for a day. But thank God, the slaves never relent. They never give up. They just believe that one day that freedom, their glamour will come from. Now, look at these pictures now. This one happened in Dominican Republic, I think today known as Haiti, when the slaves were being led by a man called Toussaint Louverture of Haiti. They killed all these rooms that the family live today. They're all sold.
They used to be sold.
Yeah, and if you count the rooms, you will count the 40. This one happened in Dominican Republic, I think today known as Haiti, when the slaves were being led by a man called Toussaint Louverture of Haiti. They kill, they massacre, they slaughter those slave owners in Haiti. They got their independence. And based on that, every August 23rd was being set aside by UNESCO as the day of remembrance of the slave trade and its abolition. Based on what happened in Haiti then, when the slave massacred them. But after many years back, when they got their independence, they were being enslaved by the French. So the French now came back to them that, now you guys have gotten your independence. If you don't want us to re-enslave you, you got to pay us money. We call it reparation for killing our people. And they force them to borrow money from their banks. And as I'm saying, Some say Haiti, we are still paying. Some say they are no more paying. But to buttress it, most of the colony, the French colony in Africa, we are still paying colonial taxes up to date to them. And to me, I don't really understand what is going on because we are living in a crazy world, like what Lucky Dube said.
Exactly.
Because I started thinking, how could somebody invaded my land? We didn't invite them at the first place. They came. To me, it's a crime. To leave your territorial area to another person's land. You took them away as a slave, and we are still paying them. That's the question.
Like that.
Yeah, that's the question I used to ask people that I've never seen anybody that to give me correct answer for it. So now the slave to the massacre, the kill, a lot of revolt. There's a man called Martin Washington. He led some revolt as well. We have a Kalota Lukumi, a lady, a Yoruba woman taken to Cuba. Yeah. We have a Mariana Graja Kilo. Many of them. We have Harep Togma. We have Nani of Ghana. We have what they call, we have William Wilberforce. We have John Brown, Bukassin Washington. Name them, Olada Iguano. Now, those groups, we call them abolitionists. And that's the main reason why. I want you to listen to this, my brother. As a Rastaman, I used to tell people that comes here that I have no hatred to any color. Either you're a white man or you're a black man. I believe that the same red blood flows in our veins.
The blood is
we are
red. One.
You understand? Now, I don't have it because among the whites, we are good and bad people.
Exactly.
And among the blacks, we are good and bad people at both sides. Both sides have, you understand? Two sides of coin. Now, there's a man called John Brown. John Brown led some slaves. He led a revolt. They killed all the plantation owner. He equipped the slave with ammunition. They go to another plantation, they massacre, they kill. And he was sentenced to death on gallows this way till death by the American government. And I heard that along the line, two of his sons died along in the revolt. William Wilberforce, people started coming, no, these black people, because they say we are subhuman. When somebody says you are a subhuman, they say we have no soul, that we are not human beings, that we are an apes. That's why they have to enslave us. Yeah, but those people say it's a lie. These black people, they're human beings like us. Exactly. We must stop this trade. And the British have no choice. They just have to put stop to the trade. And when they put stop to the trade, the slaves here were jubilating for freedom. And brother, there's nothing so beautiful to be a free man. And what I preach is freedom.
Freedom. There's not like freedom.
Yeah. Now, look at that small window. We'll give another 40 enslaved Africa a ventilation. And they will be here for 3 to 4 months. This is where they will defecate, pee, do a lot of things. Imagine how many of them will have died here. Now,
in this same cell.
Now, this chair used to be Sadiq Abbas relaxation chair then. Now, we are now going out to see where this man was buried. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the section of the compound, as you can see.
Okay.
All these rooms that the family live today, they're all cells.
They used to be cells.
Yeah, and if you count the rooms, you will count the 40. So that's a minimum of 1,600 or more than that we have been let out of the compound. So come over.
Okay.
And the building where Seriki Abari resided used to be here then.
Used to be
here. Yeah. The building collapsed in 1995. It was built in 1847. It's a story building. And had it been that this building is still standing, probably will have been the second story building. Because it has a document to back it up. Now, over here used to be Seriki Abbas' court. This used to be his court.
Okay.
Where he used to pass judgment among the community under him. That chamber served as his office then. And then most of the Yoruba Sobat used to have their meeting here. Now, we call this thing mausoleum. This is where Seriki Abba was buried when he died. He died 11 June 1919, and he was buried by the family, the Muslim community, and the Brazilian. So, come in.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So, these are my fine woman. Yeah. So, this is where Seriki Abba was buried when he died.
But, so can I ask a question? I noticed something like the grave is more taller and wider than the normal. Does this mean that maybe when Sheikh Abbas was alive, he was tall, huge? Or,
No.
You just made it this way.
Do you know that even though if a grave is as short as my hand,
Yeah.
if it had been a monument, you can make it larger. It doesn't.
Okay.
It's not as if it's a tall.
Okay, just make it just like a
Yes,
monument.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's not this. This is not the size of the what they put on ground. You understand?
Okay.
Now, and this is the tomb of his last son. One of his last sons. His name is Saka Ajawi Saba. He was born
also
1930.
enslaved.
He died 1970. You say what?
He was also enslaved.
No. By then, the slavery had been put stop.
Okay, 1913.
Yes, there's no more slavery then. So, now, I don't know if you have any question.
Well, there is no question so far, but this is so, will I say pathetic or I don't know.
And if you look around,
This is so sad.
the problem is if you look around the compound today,
Yeah.
you notice that the compound is not well kept. Really.
Exactly, yeah.
Even though people will ask me, when that, I showed the picture of the vice president,
Yeah,
the former vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, when he came. I've showed the picture of Oni of Ife when he came, Olu of Iwo. But the question is, when people come around, you see them asking you, are you sure those people are here? I say, they are here, and can't you see their picture? And now ask them, why are you? I say, because they believe that they are coming here must be a turning point.
Exactly.
For this very historical
historical
site. And most time when people come here, you see them say, oh no, the government have to do something.
Yeah.
This is our history. This is our way of life. This is our heritage. We must keep it. Not because of art for today, but because of our unborn children.
Yeah.
So you are welcome.
Yeah.
And there's this saying, they can only kill us and jail us,
Yeah.
but they cannot stop the message.
Exactly.
What's must to be gonna be.
Yeah.
I believe in Africa, and I believe that one day we'll be up there and we'll be celebrated, and all these shackles of chain will be broken and we'll be free.
Exactly.
Love,
So there's
respect.
nothing like free. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
sir.
time for coming.
Yeah. So guys, this is Sheikh Abbas compound. This is the second site. So it's so sad, we have prominent people coming, prominent people in Nigeria coming to visit this heritage site. This site is an historical site. So these people keep coming here, and yet they did not invest in tourism. They did not invest in this heritage site. This our government keep investing in crude oil. There will be a time crude oil will finish. They invest in other sectors. There will be a time those sectors will be no more. But there's only one thing that will live forever, which is tourism. So we travel out of the country, we see the way their government, invest in their tourism sectors. So why should our government not invest in our tourism sector? So this is so sad. Thanks for sticking around.
The story building built in 1845 by Reverend C.A. Gorman.
Okay.
So Reverend Gorman has been in charge of the construction of the building in 1845. Total amount of money was used to build this house.
Okay.
It's £325. Total amount of money was used to build this story building in 1845. So this is the room of the first teacher in Nigeria, Mr. Gladius Phillips, 1845 to 1868.
The story of slave trade was so pathetic at the Brazilian Barracoon. After hearing the story of tragedy and hope about the slaves from the Brazilian Barracoon, we joined another member of the Mobis family.
So what's your name, boss?
I'm Prince Abiodun Mobi.
Okay, yeah, he's one of the Mobis family. Yeah, so he's going to be our local guy for this part of the video.
Taking us to the third site of the Badagry slave trade, called the first story building in Nigeria.
First story building in Nigeria, built in 1842 to 1845. Wow. So, but our government are coming here, but they are not even doing anything. Because if they really invest in this site, even the families that are involved in this, that are in charge of this place would be like, they are going to be making a lot of money. Even the government themselves.
Yes, no.
Despite that they are not promoting this site, at least foreigners are still coming, but it's not like the way it's supposed to be. Hello guys, welcome back to another part of the video. Badagry Slave Trade Museum. Slave trade in Nigeria and West Africa. So if you are coming for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell icon notification, share this video. If you are a returning subscriber, thanks for always coming by. If you have not watched the first part, make sure you go back, check the playlist and watch the first part. So we have covered 2 sites. So this is the 3rd site. We are going to the 3rd site now. And I have my friend here who is going to, who has been accompanying. Yeah. So he has always been with me on this adventure. Then also I have our local guide here. After covering the other site, then we are going to embark on the journey of no return. But trust me, we are going to return. Gone are the days when they embark on the journey of no return and they never returned. But we are going to return.
Here in the building was the first primary school in Nigeria. At this moment, we were running out of storage and we had to make the member of the family of the compound of the 4-story building in Nigeria to summarize the stories, as we still have many things to cover. The popular Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther interpreted the first English Bible to the first Yoruba Bible in this same building. We also visited the room of the first teacher in Nigeria.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Please welcome to Badagry and welcome to first story building in Nigeria.
Okay.
The story building built in 1845 by Reverend C.A. Gorman.
Okay.
So Reverend Gorman is being in charge of the construction of the building in 1845. But the house first of all built with wooding. It was initially built with wood before it was later converted to bricks in 1845.
1845.
So Townsend built the wooden story building in 1843.
Okay.
But Gorman was later sent from England, and he shipped materials from England to converted the wooden structure that they built before and converted it to bricks in 1845. So it was built by Gorman in 1845.
Okay.
So later converted the wooden to bricks by Gorman in 1845. The house stands for over 178 years now. We have 6 bedrooms inside of this building, 2 sitting rooms inside of this building, and 4 stores inside of this story building. But there is no toilet, no kitchen, and no bedroom inside of this building. And there's a painting of a tree called the Agia tree in Badagry. So it's historical Agia tree. Under this tree, Christianity was first proclaimed in Nigeria in September 1842, and the first Christmas was first celebrated in December 1842. So when gospel started, it started under this tree, and when Christmas celebrated, it was first celebrated under the Agia tree. So the tree is no more standing. So the monument was lit at the point of the tree. They did this monument to show the point where the tree was being located before, and that's the monument did for the tree. So Reverend Thomas Birch Freeman and Reverend Henry Townsend are 2 Reverend missionaries that preached gospel and celebrated Christmas under the tree. So this is the comment of one of the Reverend about the building. The man said the house is strong and convenient. Very important. Yes.
Okay.
This is the materials was used and to build this house, and these materials called iron corrugated sheet. You can see how the material is very, very strong.
Yeah, I saw it at
Yes,
other.
yes, and different to the present.
This is
So
fake.
you can compare the two materials together. Then this is talking about the original foundation of the building. You can see they use a red block for the foundation of building to linted.
Exactly.
And this is the story building they first built wooden before they converted the wooden one to bricks in 1845.
Yeah.
So the materials used to convert it from wooden. They're trying to show us that engines were used to mount the door.
Can I touch
Yes,
it?
you are free.
Wow, see this.
See, the engines used to
The
mount
one we have now is just small
Small,
and
yes,
yeah,
it's light.
it's not even as thick as this. Oh my god.
So you see the thickness of the nails. The nails, those nails.
Yeah, the nails, the thickness. These are the original nails back then.
Exactly.
Wow. Guys, can you see this?
So this is talking about the geographical architecture's map at that 1843.
Okay.
This is showing
Of
us
this
how-
site,
yeah,
this old site.
Of this site. And this is showing us the houses were built in this compound. But those buildings, those houses have all collapsed.
Yeah,
So except only this story building in the center standing.
Standing.
They also have their farmland in front of the whole water here. So let's go.
You know, this site is where slavery started in Nigeria. Trust me.
So this is talking about the total amount of money was used and to build this house. It's 325 pounds. The total amount of money was used to build this stone building in 1845. And then this is the breakdown of the houses we built in this compound that all collapsed.
Yeah,
That is
the church, mission house.
Yes, So this is the room of the first teacher in Nigeria, Mr. Gladius Phillips, 1845 to 1868. The name of the first primary school in Nigeria was St. Thomas Primary School, established 1845 with 40 men. Men are the first students that started primary school in 1845. Men that attend this very primary school here, and this picture of the primary school was established in 1845. With 40 men as students. But men who started the primary school, they started primary school at the age of 45 years.
45.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And this is a picture of the teacher that teaches us. Yeah, that teaches 40 men in primary
Claudius Phillips.
school. So and those 40 men, each one of them spent 12 years in primary school.
12 years.
So we want to go up now to see the room of a man called Bishop Samuel.
Not like these days where people spend 6 years before they are.
So this is a room of a man called Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowder. He sat down here and changed English Bible into Yoruba. And this is the first English Bible, and this is the first Yoruba Bible. So it was translated by a man called Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowder in 1845. So this is the English and Yoruba Bible. So that's the man, the picture of the man who changed English Bible into Yoruba.
1809 to 1891.
Was born. Now this is the sitting room for those missionaries upstairs, and this is the picture of Reverend Thomas Page Freeman, the man that first preached the gospel under the tree called Agia tree. Following by this man, Reverend Henry Townsend, and this is the man who built the stone building, Reverend C.A. Bowman. So these two people preached gospel under the tree, and this man built the house in 1845. So this is a picture of the church built in 1843, and the church collapsed in 1911. And this is the chair since 1878.
And the chair still exists.
Yes, that's one of the chair of those missionaries. The chair is over 145 years.
Wow, 145 years.
And this is the picture of the cemetery where those missionaries were buried. So numbers of missionaries died and buried in Badagry is 240.
240.
So we're going to see the saving bank where the missionaries kept their money and some of the valuables items. This is the saving bank of those missionaries where the missionaries kept their money and some of the valuables items. We have some cowries there, some shillings and pennies and pounds. All those money introduced to us by the British. Later we changed to Naira and Kobo in 1973. Later we are changing from Naira and Kobo to the note money. So we have olden days note money, old 1 Naira, old 5 Naira, old 50 Kobo, old 5 Naira, old 50 Naira. All this money, olden days money that people spend in Nigeria. So we're going down. So this is the well dug by the missionary in 1842. Since 1842, it has never run dry, this well water. And it is only well water in this Badagry serve every one of us as drinkable water. A lot of us were depending on this water, although people cannot afford buying the bottled water or such water. They have to come for this well water. So they make use of the water as drinking water. But it's never running dry since 1842. And it's never changed color since 1842. But most of tourists that come from outside, come from far distance, coming to Badagry and for a tour. And because of the story they actually held about the well, they developed faith that this well water never run dry. Oh, they have faith. They believe in God. They will want to use this water for prayer. Majority of them use water for prayer and it worked for them. And they come back to name the well water Miracle Well.
This is the fourth site of Badagry Slave Trade Center called the Heritage Museum.
You are welcome to Badagry Heritage Museum.
In this museum, we heard about how the slaves were taken from the West Africa to the West Indies. Also, we were told how they put destinies in their hands and were pleading for freedom. At the museum, we were shown the statues which represent the reactions of the slaves when they were free during the abolition of the slave trade.
You are welcome to Badagry Heritage Museum.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and the museum is all about slave trade. It's all about Atlantic triangular slave trade. So slave trade started in the year 1445 by the Portuguese. So in 1445, Europeans came down all the way from Europe down to West Africa. So slaves were taken from West Africa down to West Indies. So at the West Indies, the slaves are forced to work on the plantation. Meanwhile, they have to go through a lot of processing. So they plant some crops like sugarcane, tobacco, cotton, rice, and bananas. What they planted will be harvested and will be taken back to Europe. And then Europe, the crops were turned to finishing goods. So they have to turn sugarcane to sugar, tobacco into cigarettes, cotton into textiles, bananas into whiskey. And they're being returned to Africa in exchange of more slaves. The system is triangular. And because they work in between the Atlantic Ocean, so they come across the Atlantic triangular slave trade. And over there we have a symbol which was used to campaign against slave trade when the slave decide to take destiny into their hands. And here's a man asking, am I not a man and a brother? Because a fellow human being like him reduced into this level. So he's asking, is he not a man like the master? Is he not a brother to the master? So why is the master trying to enslave him? So he's begging for freedom from the person that's captured him as a slave. And of course, between 1640 to 1750, the Europeans divided the West African coast into 4 major coasts. So each of the coasts was named after the things they discovered in each country. So the first one is called the Grain Coast, and the Grain Coast is Sierra Leone and Senegal. And the second one is called the Ivory Coast, that's Côte d'Ivoire. The third one is the Gold Coast, Ghana. And the last one is the Slave Coast. So the Slave Coast is our country, Nigeria, and then Benin Republic. So it's because a lot of slaves were taken from there. That's why they're being referred to as the Slave Coast. And also we have the white slaves. So here we have the white slaves. So the white slaves indicate that not only the Africans were taken as slaves, so slavery is what they do all over the world. It's a general business. So they also take slaves as well. Yes, they also take the whites as slaves. And this is the trade route, the marching of the slave down to the point of no return. So how they take the slaves down to the point of no return, the same way, the same path that the slave take to get to the unknown destination, which is the point of no return. So let's see the capture part of the museum. So here we have the weapons used in slave raiding. So these are the weapons, the guns and the swords, so are used to raid, to get slaves. And of course, we have the chains, the original chains used on the slaves. So we have the neck chains for the male, the neck chains for the females. So, and this is used for the child. And this for the leg of a slave. And this for the leg of 2 different slaves. So they work at the same time. And this is the branding of the slaves. A lady slave being branded before shipping. A lady slave being branded before shipping. That is, they write the name of the slave owner on the body of the slave for them to identify their slaves. And these are the separation of families. These are the families being separated. So they are sold to different countries. They are not allowed to see themselves to the end of their life. We have an artistic impression that shows the sign of punishment, the sign of torture given to the slaves at the point of no return. So let's see what they use in exchange of slaves. So there is different items in exchange of slaves. So the items are, we have bottles of whiskey. We have whiskey. So the whiskey was used to exchange slaves. So one of the whiskey goes for 10 slaves, either 10 women or 2 men. And these are also some of the items used to buy slaves. They use cowries, they use manilas in the olden days to buy slaves. So after buying the slaves, they take the slaves to a place called Barakun. So Barakun is like a store. It's a store where slaves are kept pending the time the ship will arrive to the Atlantic Ocean. Then once the ship arrives, they take the slave down to the point of no return. So this is the marching of the slaves to the point of no return. And immediately the slaves get to the point of no return, they are not allowed to come back. So that's why they call the place point of no return. And these are the slave facilitators, the slave dealers. So these are the dealers of the trade. So here we have the man who explored the West African coast in the person of Prince Henry the Navigator. And here we have the first English slave dealer in the person of Captain John Hawkins. And here is a man called Felix de Souza, who dominated slave trade for 30 years in Benin Republic, that's in Wida. And one of them was actually murdered and was buried here in Badagry in the year 1621. Yeah, that was when it was buried. They also advertised the slaves. For them to know that social slave is available, this slave is available, they place them on adverts. They advertise the slaves to be sold and let by public auction, to be sold a cargo of 94 prime healthy negroes. So they're placed on different adverts on the plantation. So for the person I want to buy the slave to know that the slave is available. So for example, now these ones are from Sierra Leone.
Okay.
So if you need a slave from Sierra Leone, you know that, okay, let me go and trade with David and John. So they're the one that owns slaves from Sierra Leone. Okay. So that's slave drinking pot. Okay. So this is where the slave drinks water from. On the plantation, they put water inside the pot for the slaves. And all the slaves around the pot, they put their mouths or use their hands to scoop water from the pot. So the drinking is survival of the fittest because they drink water once in a day. And this is the replica, the prototype of the slave ship. Inside the ship, you have the upper and the lower deck. Upper deck for the masters and the lower deck for the slaves. So this is the loading pattern because the slaves are being arranged at the lower deck, lying down, facing up for 2 to 12 weeks. At the same spot, the slaves urinate and defecate, and they died every day. And when the ship becomes too heavy, they throw some of the slaves inside the Atlantic Ocean to make the ship becomes lighter. And this is the cannon gun. Each of these guns was used to exchange 100 slaves. That is, they give the African chiefs this gun, and the chiefs give them 100 slaves in return. So once again, you are welcome to the Heritage Museum. My next name is Undeyin Olamide. So thanks for coming. Take off.
So much heard a lot about what our forefathers faced during the 400 years of slavery in Badagry. After visiting four sites to hear from each family what our descendants faced during those days, we then proceeded to the point of no return, now called Berefu Island in Badagry, which is the fifth site.
So guys, like I said, this place is full of history. When we were at the 4-story building, we had to rush the story because we are running out of storage. So now we are embarking on the journey of no return, but we are going to return. So we are going to catch a speedboat that will take us across the river to the land of, to the port. Yeah, I think to the sea, right? Yeah, to the sea where they put the slaves on the ships, and take them to the journey of no return.
So, you're welcome to Badagry once again, the historical and ancient town in the whole Nigeria. So once again, I welcome you to Berefu Island, Badagry. Badagry was established 1425, and the slave trade started in Badagry 15 centuries ago, and the trade lasted for good 400 years before it was abolished. So, when during the days of slave trade, when those white people had a signal that a big ship is arrived from the high sea, they have to march those slaves from the Barracoon, which is where they normally kept slaves in days of slave trade, established 1840. So they march them from the Barracoon down to the slave port. When they get to the port, they have to load them inside a canoe. They're not paddling the canoe from the other side down here. When they go here, they line them up. The chain will be around the neck, their mouth will be clipped, and their leg will be locked. They have to walk on this island. From this point to the seashore is about 1.5 kilometers. And on their way going, there was a well. That well was dug during days of slave trade, called attenuation well. They have to force those slaves to drink out of the water, and they lost their memory, as in they look less aggressive until they get to where they're taking them to before they be submissive. And the water is still functioning to date. So you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The site is where the slaves were taken to when they were embarking on the journey of no return after they have been used for many years by their masters. Embarking on this journey of no return means they are going forever and they will never come back. Nobody knew, maybe they were being killed in the middle of the ocean, or there was another end after the ocean, or they were taken to another country where they continued their slavery. They will have to put them on boat to cross them to the other side of the river, which made a water border between the slavery side and the land where they farm for their masters. Along these plantations is where they pass through with heavy chains on their legs, hands and neck. When they get to the middle of the plantations while embarking on the journey of no return, they stop at the attenuation well, drink from the well, and forced to make a recitation and lose their memory.
So this is where the well is, called original sports slave spirit attenuation well, where our brothers and our sisters in diaspora drank from and they lost their memory. After taking this water, they look less aggressive until they get to where they are going before they be submissive, and the water is still effective to date. So you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, my mom, we
Yeah.
We one of our fathers here that planted something inside the water, but I gave them the food.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Maybe they have the food before.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Here is the point of no return. During those days, when they get to the point of no return, the slaves enter the tunnel through the entry and were kept in the tunnel, while the ships that will take them on the journey to an unknown destination stays in the middle of where we see as the middle of the ocean. The slaves passed through the tunnel and exited at the other end to join the boat sent by the Europeans to take them at the shore of the ocean in batches to the ships brought by the Europeans. But today, this point of no return has turned to a tourist attraction for people and foreigners around the world. Thanks for watching.